Hello, hello, hello. Peace. What's up? This is Phil Paradise Cummings in the Dark Room, the Deepa Dark Room. Mixing Capstone Project. This is ironically, this is a song that you usually hear because I spent a lot of time on this when I really think about it. From like my original MIDI recording with scratch vocals all the way down to this live recording with band plus some MIDI programming I did myself. So this is a song I've been mixing for the last 2 days. I mean, basically I put like 4 hours on it yesterday, almost 4 hours today. So with some breaks off and on, had to go pick up my kid from school and stuff like that. So really I probably spent a total of about six hours on this. It was probably a solid 4 hours yesterday, and probably 2 hours today. A lot of that time is spent listening to it. But basically, I made some notes that I'm going to put in my blog. But I'm going to start, when I approached the mix, the first point was that this song, like we've talked about in previous classes, is you define the main area of the song. And for this one, it's basically the priority is this part right here, actually, the bridge. This bridge right here, I wanted the vocals, as you hear. I mean, maybe you can hear. They're pretty full. There's like 8 tracks of vocals on here, which are all me, by the way, plus the leads. So it's like I wanted that bridge should set really the measure set the tone for the rest of the song, especially on the vocals. I knew if I get the mix right on these, the rest would take care of itself, because it's the most full as far as vocal parts. And really even the musical part of it. So I basically started with the bridge, basically spent about 30 minutes setting, getting levels, doing pans, and funny enough, like really just panning, some slight pans. It's kind of hard to see, but basically like the lower tones, I put in slight pans to the right, the higher ones slight pans to the left, and then like the middle tones in the middle. Kind of makes sense. So I did that, and then also again set levels here. You see, like, this is where you can see all those vocals. Let me press stop here. So you got like the leads right here, higher notes, middle note that kind of blends. Well, yeah, it's a middle note. And then there's another higher note, and then these are like the lower ones, because I was putting in notes as I was going along. Because what it is these two are main backgrounds, and they're 2 octaves. So actually, this is a lower note, but it's meant to be centered along with the leads. These two are meant to be centered. Because they're like the foundation. It's like you've got these 2 octaves, and then everything else here is fitting in between these 2. So that's really what it is. So, but these are centered, even though they're centered. So they're really in between these 2, really. But my point is, with the panning, that's what I'm saying. These are centered, and these are surrounding it. So, and it made for a nice full ensemble vocal effect, because like the vocals I wanted to go for on this is almost like some Parliament Funkadelic, kind of almost operatic yet soulful yet funky, like, wild almost, if that's a word. Like, so kind of like reckless, you know what I mean? Reckless abandon on the vocals. So I did that, and ironically, like I said, I spent about 30 minutes on that, and it wasn't really that hard, because like I knew what I wanted to hear from them, and I knew which notes I wanted to really be able to poke out versus the other ones. I had some trouble getting the lower notes. I seem to always have an issue with lower notes because the way we hear things, the higher frequencies are always just easier to hear. So you find yourself pulling the low notes up, but then it doesn't sound natural, and it's just tough to those frequencies are tough to get together. But I always do a lot of octave stuff, high octave, low octave in my stuff, so I almost always run into that issue. So then I went in. Oh, but I was saying it worked out perfectly because then I started mixing the rest of the bridge, like as far as the instruments, which I've been tweaking this thing so much. Like a lot of the instruments are set kind of in the places they needed to be. But I'll get to that when it comes to instruments. But my point is, it worked out just like I thought, because once I did the bridge vocals, like I didn't even have to change a level or panning on any of the vocals on the hook. I'd scroll back towards the hook, and I maybe took 10 minutes just because. Well, no, I didn't even take that long. I basically just listened to it and it was like, okay. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is, like, each hook kind of sounds different because of that panning. I guess the way I sang the notes on each track, sometimes I don't know, dynamically, my distance to the mic, some different things happen. But I like it because it makes each hook sound different. So like different parts seem to kind of poke out on the hook. Different notes poke out each time. And that was kind of what I wanted. Like I said, I wanted to sound like there's a bunch of different people singing it and they're doing different things. So it's cool. So then I went to do a little bit of EQing, which really, I didn't do this immediately. I didn't really start doing this until I got into the later stages, because again, then I started working on the music part. So the what did I do next? Oh, the wah guitar. Yeah. I started thinking about the wah guitar. I was just sitting there like, once I got the vocal set, and it's probably because you're talking about some of the same frequencies. It's like the wah guitar is a little lost in the shuffle, a little lost in the mix. So I went over there, and let's see where that is. Right here. So, I set a level on it, because that's another thing that when I talked about what's the main focus points of the song is that wah guitar. I mean, I just, when I first came up with the song, it was just designed to have that wah, soul, funk, bluesy, whatever type of vibe. I'm sorry. So that is almost like a lead instrument. It's like the sort of thing where if I just had a wah guitar in my vocals, that would be the song. Of course, the bass line is very, very important as well. But bass line takes care of itself because it's just got its own frequency world outside of the kick and some of my lower vocal tones. But that wah guitar is right in there with the mid vocal tone and some other instruments, snare, things like that. So I went over to wah guitar, and what did I do to that? I went and put a little EQ on it. And this, actually, I did a lot, well, not a lot, but I did more than I really ever have of one band EQ. I just did like, what is this frequency here? 1.5, that whole articulation thing. Didn't even do like the 2.5. I just, I put the gain, I'm going to stop saying but I increased the gain 4.7 dB, and as soon as I heard it, I said, that's good. That was all I needed. So I did that. Started cutting through, and I did this without soloing. This is with the whole track playing, and I heard it cut through to a point that I liked it. That's really all I put on that one. What is this next to it? And that's really what got me started using one band. Because yeah, then I did the clean guitar, similar, but I actually ended up doing the 2.5 for even more, that whole articulation thing. I did say but that is actually appropriate in this case. So I did that to get some more articulation, narrowed the Q, the bandwidth there, put some gain on it, and I did the clean guitar. I mean, I like the way it sits in the mix. It's just kind of teasing you. It's just kind of like in there, kind of caressing you, just talking to you a little bit, saying a little something to you. It's not really as prominent as the wah guitar, so it's very complimentary, and I like it. Complements my vocals and everything. Then I did, and that was about 20 minutes I spent on that, because my point was actually, to blend those two guitars, but make sure that the wah guitar is being distinguished from the clean guitar, but yet they're kind of working in tandem. There's kind of moments where they sound like they're the same thing, and then moments where they're doing, where the clean guitar is doing different things. So you're hearing it, okay, this is two different things. And that was kind of what I was going for. I think it worked out pretty slick. After that, I went to the drum kit, which, because of the way it was tracked, it's really been, it could have been better, but it's kind of like what I have had to do with that. It's been a learning experience, because I basically used, did I EQ? I don't think I used any EQ on the drum kit. No, I didn't. What I was doing with them, with the drum kit, was putting reverb on the overheads and compression on the overheads, because they were recorded with pads on them mistakenly, because I think I documented that in my blog previously, because we were switching inputs, and it was like the tom and snare, probably one of those type things, where mainly it was a tom. Yeah, that is what it was, because a tom, as most of us know, can usually use a pad on it, although probably could have did something with the Sennheiser microphone. And I think we switched the input. It was like the tom, because right here the floor tom is 3, and overhead left is 4, overhead right is 5. 3. The floor tom is 3, overhead left is 4, overhead right is 5. And so basically the overhead sitting next to the floor tom and the track list and the input list and the mic mic inputs. I think we switched them, and so the pad ended up being on the overhead, and it's kind of crazy. So it's like my overheads just sounded real weak. And another thing, the snare is in one of the overheads, but the snare really doesn't even have its own track. I mean, these are things I shouldn't even be admitting, but hey, I'll do it, because the point is, I made something good out of it. And I don't really know how that happened, but we definitely had the snare mic'd. But the best snare sound I have is coming out of the left overhead. So the challenge I've had, I've been tweaking it, like I said, all along. So once I got to this mixing stage, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's just that this was the first time I really, really, really dug into it. So I spent about an hour and a half fooling around with this thing, where I was trying to get, again, overheads to sound bigger, mainly because I needed to get the snare, which is trapped in the left overhead, to get it up there in the mix, and to get the ride cymbal, which is in the right overhead on the second verse, to have that sound, because that's key. I mean, that's a key moment in the song. There's like a change musically, and that ride cymbal is just what, one of those things that I had to have in there. And then I put a little bit of reverb on the racks, because they were sounding a little, I don't know, muffled. Again, They were mic'd up, so I don't know what the problem was with that. So I put some reverb on those so they could have a little room sound. Again, creating some space or room, you know what I'm saying, space, room sound. And then I did EQ some of the left overhead. So that's what I think we should see. Left overhead. No, I didn't. That's weird. Okay, I didn't. I just put reverb on the left overhead. Put, what is this thing? Let's see. Oh, that is EQ. Yeah. Okay, I EQ the right overhead. And basically cut lows so that the highs would come out, because that's the one that had the ride cymbal. And I did something with the mids because there's snare in both overheads, really. So that was kind of bring out some of the snare sound. Excuse me. And then I put compression, which I actually ended up taking. I had it on both, but I took it off of the left one and just left it on the right one. Honestly, it sounded better. I can't really remember what happened. It just was like one of those things where I just left it on one of them. Because like I said, they're both overheads, but they're kind of doing two different things because one of them had a snare in it. Not mainly, but more than the other. So then I did this thing with the panning situation where I took there's two pan knobs. I just basically not hard right, but pretty far right, pretty far left, and then left the other two that are closer together in the middle. So kind of created a sound where they were kind of together there. Then the next thing I did was bassline. And bassline is very important. It's just, again, I kind of was trying to do what I thought would be the most time consuming. And that's kind of how it worked out because, again, it was like 30 minutes on the vocals, which was top priority, background vocals. 20 minutes on the wah guitar. Now, yeah, again, it was an hour and a half. I did, not to mention, I'm reading my notes. I put an air kill, that's what it was. I put this air kill on the overhead that has a snare, but then the snare ring was getting so high and was losing the thickness of the snare, so I only put it on the overhead right. I mean, I'm sure there's gates and things I could have used, but I didn't do it. Because, again, it already took me an hour and a half on the drum, So when I got to the bass line, it only took me about 10 minutes to work with that. Because, like I said, it was kind of took care of itself. And I was expecting that. So really all I did with the bass at first was... let's see, bass lines right there. So I put an EQ on it. Is that what that is? Yeah. So that's when I went with a 4-band EQ. I took all the highs out, boosted 100 hertz. Boosted a little bit of 270 hertz. Because with the bass line with this, I mean, it was direct, it was a DI, and the style that he played wasn't very, I don't know, for whatever reason, it wasn't thick sounding in the actual tracking. So I did that to kind of almost, not muddy it, but as you can see, I wasn't really going for a whole lot of articulation, basically, because it was kind of there already. I needed some thickness to it, and I think that worked out nicely. So that's what I did with the bass line. And then after that, I went to the lead vocals, which the thing with the lead vocals is the vibe. You know, basically, I wanted them to, obviously, lead vocals carry a song, and here they are right here. Also, another thing I did was group. That was another thing I did. Yeah. After I got the background vocals, I did this trick. I mean, it's probably nothing to anybody who knows what they're doing, but I was impressed with myself for doing it. Once I had these levels set, I grouped them. I made a group called background vocals, so that way, as I'm playing it, if I need to bring them down, I just grab any one of them and lower the level, and all of them are moving. They're staying in the same, what is that word? The same, correlation. You know, they're staying in the same perspective. Shoot. I'm usually good with words. They had the same relationship with each other. That's what I'm trying to say. They were, so they were moving as a whole together, with each of them keeping the same relationship to the other one. And that was just dope. I mean, when I was playing it back, because the first thing I did when I started playing was like, okay, these vocals are way up too high. So I just took them all down at the same time. It was dope. So then I did the same thing with the leads. Grouping is dope. So if you don't use grouping, use it. The point with the lead vocals is that I wanted them to have a vibe to them. I wanted them to be somewhat abstract, like a lot of the vocals on this song are. The way I sing it, I probably could have even been more abstract, but I didn't want to just freak people out. So it's kind of meant to be straightforward yet nuanced. There we go. There's some nuances in the way I sing it. So I knew I was going to end up putting some sort of effect on them. Is basically what I'm getting to. But I first really just put them at a level, volume fader wise, and did some EQ. Let's take a look at one of those. I took the high frequencies, kind of took those out. Did a little boost around 200 hertz, because I don't have a low voice. I don't have a low singing voice, but what I like to do with my voice is, I always said if I was able to start EQing my own music, I would always try to find the frequency in my voice that's a little bit lower and boost it. That's basically what I'm saying. Because, I don't know. I mean, I don't like the way that I usually sound, because it usually just sounds too airy and too, I'm not going to say nasally, but I don't know. It doesn't sound like what I think I sound like. I hear lower frequencies when I'm singing in my own ears, but when I listen to myself recorded, like, they're just kind of lost. So I think I did a pretty good job on this one of doing that. So that's kind of where I went with that. I just wanted to boost. I mean, and shoot, actually 138 hertz is probably too low to really make a difference, but I don't know. I think it did. So I did that, and then I'm gonna have to rush through this. I'm already at 23 minutes, but there's not much else to go here. I put a delay on it to add some more kind of thickness to it. So a short delay. That's that under 40 seconds, where it just basically sounds like it's double, kind of separate tone, or you all know what I'm talking about. It's not a distinct echo, is basically what I'm saying. And put it at 100% mix. Then came the fun part. I went through some modulation, the modulation plugins, yeah. And it was kind of funny because I knew what I was going to end up with, but I was just trying other stuff anyway at first, and went through some of those. Long story short, ended up using the air flanger, which I knew I was going to put a flange on it. I mean, I've been hip to flange for years. I love flange on just about almost anything, but definitely on vocals, guitar, keyboards, and of course those are pretty much in that same frequency spectrum. So I ended up putting the air flanger on there, and let's see what I did. 24% mix. I mean, it was like as soon as I put it on, all I really did was change the mix level. 24%. I didn't change. I mean, I didn't touch any of these. Not that I can remember. Maybe I did something. Oh, I did take. What? I don't know about that low cut. Point is, I did it and I liked it. Then, so I had that, and I'm listening to it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now the lead vocals have this kind of abstract, funkier, psychedelic. There we go. Even type of vibe, slightly. And I had to fool with that. I will admit that because, first I was laying out on heavy, and that's the thing with effects. You kind of like be more subtle with it. You want people to hear it, but you don't want to be like, oh my gosh, what the heck? It's like, it can't not fit with the rest of the music because your vocals just sound like you were doing a completely different song. So I found that level, and then I was like, See, there's this one note in the song that I call it the Al Green note, because the song is, to me, is like Al Green meets Parliament Funkadelic kind of vibe. So I was like, that note to me honestly needed something else to stand out. So I went back and I ended up EQing that bad boy with a one band, and again added articulation 2.45, and then it made me realize there was another high note. That's a high note. That's a background high note. I did the same thing there, a little less, but around the 2 kHz, boosted that a little bit. And I'm telling you, as soon as I boosted it that much, I heard it, and I'm like, it cut through. So I'm learning how EQ. And when you hear it, just quit. I ain't trying to go crazy with it. So so that was that, because I kept hearing as I did the hooks, like they were kind of, like I said, the bridge hooks set everything up, but there were certain notes that really weren't punching out like I wanted to, as I already mentioned. So then, that's how I fixed it. So it ended up being kind of going back to the background vocals again, even though they were close to set. So I then added this flanger. I was thinking, actually I listened to this several times, walked out of the room, into the living room, left the door open, turned it up, and everything was sounding good. So I was like, I wonder what it would sound like if I put this flange on all the vocals, but definitely the Al Green one, because I just figured it's already got its little place in terms of panning. I have it panned at like 22, so it's kind of off to the left. Where the higher notes are, but it's closer to the center. Like, this is a higher note, it's panned pretty far to the right. Anyway, to the left. So long story short, I put the flange on that one, listened to it. It really didn't make that much of a difference. It obviously didn't stand out as much as putting it on the lead vocal, because that note is mixed in with some other background notes. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll put the flange on all of the backgrounds. So I did that. Same setting, just Alt or Option if you're using Mac. Copied them all the way across the board, and boom, that was that. So now, like, the entire vocals have like I said, a kind of abstract feel to them. Let's keep using the word abstract. And that was, at that point, I pretty much started listening to the whole thing, and did some about 20 minutes I was listening. Actually, I'm sorry. Wait. Dang, I messed up. Cause I didn't even do all that stuff until. Is this a new video? What the heck? Hold on.